Okay, so no Uncle T tonight. We do have JT. It's Holden. I'm back from my splendid Thanksgiving celebration down in Scottsdale, Arizona. We got Gary in tonight. Gary was very excited. Gary is so scary. That's what John Sterling would say about you. Gary tonight, Chatterbox, JT. Chatterbox. I mean, the guy has a lot to say. I'm looking forward to it. What's happening, JT? How was Thanksgiving break? How was the show without me? I'm sure it was a lot of fun with Stats being here. Talk to me. What's going on?
Man, it was really enjoyable without you. I hate to say that, but if I'm going to say it, I have to say it to your face. So
Got to.
a little bit sad that you're back. I've got up there on my headline, the Old Guys Pod's only reliable member, because it's true. Uncle T's not here this week. You weren't here last week. God
You
knows
missed a week.
I can't remember missing a week.
God
knows where anybody will be next week and what we'll have to do to cover. I'm glad Gary could step up for Uncle T. He likes to do this, right? Holden, Sunday night at like 7 or 8 o'clock when you're, in a marijuana coma, and I've been watching the games all day, and I'm just kidding. Of course you're not.
Of course I'm not.
But and so like it's midday Monday when we get around to like, oh, all right, Uncle T's not going to be there, and here we are.
Yeah.
But we have Gary, and I went through the slate earlier, and I saw that the Commanders were on the slate, so I got a little bit nervous to think about what Gary was going to like this week, but we'll see. And it was a good weekend. It was a great weekend, actually.
It was a great weekend. How so? Did you win money?
It was a great weekend. I almost won a lot of money. I won a little bit of money. I split second in the Thanksgiving Day Millie.
Oh.
Yeah.
How many entries did you throw in?
40.
How'd the other 39 do?
I couldn't tell you, honestly.
Only one mattered, Holden. Only one mattered.
Focused on that one that was I opened it up at halftime of the last game, and I was like, oh, I'm in 10th. And that's happened to me a couple of times, and I've only got like a defense left. But no, I had 3 guys left. I had McCaffrey, Debo, and the 49ers defense. And I was tied with a guy, and we were the only 2 in the top, 15 or 20 that had that combination. So we got up to technically first and second, then a tie for third. So, but it was good. It was good. Good little way to end the holiday.
All right. Uncle T, by the way, calling girls volleyball tonight, and
yes.
it's a good excuse to miss the show tonight. Gary is here. For those of you who don't know Gary, I don't know what you've been doing. Gary is a big baseball guy. He's been placing a lot of bets, putting bets in the Discord lately. Do you play much NBA, Gary? Are you an NBA guy, or are you more? Yeah, you are, aren't you?
Holden, I do the playbook 3 days a week.
Ah, that's right.
I play every day. It's a kind of a shit show tonight, but yes.
Gary, do you play NBA?
Are you hard of hearing? I mean, I know this is the Old Guys Pod and everything, but put your hearing aids in or something.
I got to tell you something, Gary. I'm starting to lose my hearing, though. I'm not even kidding. Because after 30 years of wearing headphones for 4 hours a day and cranking that up, your hearing starts to go to shit. So that's kind of what's going on here. It's good to have you here, Gary. Thank you very much.
You know what this day reminds me of? This tonight reminds me of? I'm 40, right? So I am legitimately I'm crossed the threshold to be on this show. I am 40. I'm the only person on this show that is also getting a retirement check and a disability check. So maybe I am the oldest by proxy on the show. And it reminds me of the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin. I'm a 40-year-old virgin on the Old Guys podcast.
Well, were you working on that line like all day, Gary?
No, I actually just came up with it.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, Gary.
Yeah.
Now, you have a disability. What's your disability, Gary? Are you diabetic?
No, I'm not diabetic. So I have a lot. Going on. So I went to Thailand. You know the Thailand story.
Boy, do I. And she did throw those ping pong balls out in a very interesting orifice.
I never went to the ping pong show. And And by the way, our interpreters in Thailand say those are very nice women that do the ping pong shows.
Oh, really?
They're just not very attractive. So that's the only thing they can really do.
I saw a ping pong show here one time, and she was very attractive.
Was
But
that?
keep going. What are your disabilities, Gary?
In the Discord, you saw a ping pong show?
No, just definitely.
I think he saw
it's in Vegas.
I think he saw the ping pong show in the basement in Kentucky.
Yeah, no, oh, that too. Me and JT were standing next to each other. Gary, what's your disabilities?
So when I was in Thailand, I got Bell's palsy. Like, it's like a very rare condition. Like, this whole left side of my face was like drooping. It kind of mimics like a stroke symptoms. Like, I rode in a Thai ambulance. It was kind of cool. The Thai ambulance was meant for somebody like 5'2", not somebody that's 6 foot tall. And oh, by the way, the emergency room doctor and the emergency room nurse ride in the ambulance to come get you. They don't have any EMTs there. It was and I had to go see the neurologist the next day. I went to the ER that night. I rode in the ambulance. Total cost $150 US without any insurance.
Wow. Was it good care?
Oh, yeah. So I came back. I had a follow-up appointment with my PCM here, the neurologist here. They said I would have done everything that they did. It was perfect.
Any other disabilities, Gary?
Yes, I have back issues, crazy back issues. I got neuropathy that goes down my left leg.
Oh, Jesus.
Being on ships. So I've been on 3 ships in the Coast Guard over my 20 years, and they're not very big boats. Like, we're talking a 210-foot boat, a 380-foot boat, a 270-foot boat. And when you're out there in 20, 30 footers and that boat's banging on them waves, it's not good for your back.
No, it's
not. The next thing to go will be my knees.
Did you ever shoot anyone? We don't care about your knees. We want to know if you're going to shoot somebody.
No, I have not ever shot anyone.
That sucks. Do you want to shoot someone?
No. So, no, I do not.
Okay.
Vito has a comment. Vito says, man, 40 is an 80. Get yourself together, pal.
Hey, I'm falling apart, man. Falling apart.
Yeah, you are. You're beat up, bro.
I popped the gummy like 20 minutes ago, so this should be interesting mid-show when it hits.
All right. I'm looking forward to it, Gary. You're talking a lot right now. I like it. This is Gary Unhinged on the program. JT, last week, Uncle T told me, he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I was at an aquarium in Phoenix. And then I went to an alien museum. Have you ever been to an alien museum?
I haven't, but he was pretty tore up about the fact that you were doing the NBA hardwood show.
Right.
Or the up to lock, whatever it was you were doing.
It was the up to lock.
Yeah, the substance didn't really matter to us. What did matter to us is that you were picking to do that, but not choosing to be with us. And correct. Uncle T was a little bit he was hurt. He was a little bit jealous, and we talked him off of that. Though we talked him off of that. We made a little fun of you, and that made us feel a lot better. I mean, it was a fantastic show. Fantastic show.
He's got to get over that shit. I mean, basically the pecking order. Would I rather work with JT? Would I rather work with JT and Uncle T or Tony and JSU? The answer's simple: Tony and JSU. Do you know what happened tonight on the show, on the Up to Lock show?
I can't wait for you to tell us.
JSU said that when he's on the workbench, he gets dog hair in his mouth. So I asked him if he was blowing his dog or something, right? So I get a text from my girlfriend who's downstairs, and she's with her 8-year-old nephew, and his name is Benny. And she texts me the following: Benny can hear every word. I keep turning up the TV. So I hit her back. I said, ha, ha, ha. Oh, boy. His mom says this stuff anyways, doesn't she? And she goes, I don't think she yells, did you suck his dick or something at the top of at the top of your lungs. And by the way, I got you a burrito bowl. That was really
that might be something. Yeah, that might be something that usually isn't part of the family conversation that you might hear. You might hear it on any Run Pure Sports show. I mean, that's the beauty of what we have going here, the special relationships that we have, where we can call each other. Are we on YouTube? Am I allowed? I don't think we're on YouTube. We call each other.
Oh, we're live.
We call each. Oh, okay. So yeah, we call each other cunts. We call each other. We say things about eating, licking, sucking extremities. It's beautiful. And that's the thing.
Terms of endearment.
So special.
I think it's a term of endearment as well. Gary, have you ever done that to a dog? No, I'm just kidding. So in all seriousness though, Gary, what did you do for Thanksgiving? What did you do? Because I was at a beautiful resort in Scottsdale, hanging out with my kids and my family, at a delicious meal. It was just this was one of the best vacations ever, besides for the fact that the Lions lost and fucked up 2 of my 3 remaining survivor pools. But I still have the Niners and Eagles and Dolphins left, so I'm going to be okay in one of them, down to the final 13. But boy, besides for that Lions loss, everything went perfectly. What did Gary do this year?
Oh, I just went to the in-laws. Nothing special. It's pretty much what we do every year. Pretty boring. It's fine. I like boring. I'm a boring guy.
Well, glad to have you on the show. You were obviously the right man to choose. JT.
Yes.
Would you like to recap what you did for Thanksgiving, buddy?
Yeah. So Thanksgiving, we got up in the morning, and I made lineups like I do whenever there's a slate. So I made my lineups, and then we had to get everything and the dog together. We went over to my wife's sister's house. Her whole family was there, and it was good. It was a lot of fun. We watched the games. And then I got home around, halftime of the night game. So had lots of food, lots of drinks. It was fantastic. And then because I looked at my lineups, I drank a lot more than I anticipated drinking, and stayed up a little bit later than I anticipated staying up. And Friday was pretty much a day of misery because I was hungover, and my computer crapped out while I was doing the hardwood show at 4:45, and but by Saturday I was back to feeling well again. So it was good. It was a good day. It was a good weekend. A good Sunday NFL slate. It just reminds you of how difficult it is to win on those big slates, because I got so much right, but not enough right to have a really, really good day. So Kyron Williams was my highest owned player. Josh Allen was my highest exposed quarterback. I got Devonta Smith right for the Eagles. What I didn't get right was not fucking around with the Steelers backfield. That was a mistake because I played a lot of Jaylen Warren. And then I fell into the narrative that Gabe Davis will never catch a football again. So I didn't have enough Gabe Davis, but it was a good weekend, and it's been a good start to this week. And the holidays are great, Holden. I got some travel coming up. I'm going to Houston tomorrow for a couple of days, and then next week I was going to go to DC and New York. It looks like I'm only going to go to DC. I don't have to go to New York, so I don't think I'm going to go to New York. Even though, if you're going to go to New York, the holidays might be one of the times where you would choose to go. But I've seen it enough.
I haven't been back to the East Coast since I moved out of DC. And that's been a while now, maybe 5 years. I went to Florida to go visit my parents a couple of times. But Florida doesn't count. That's its own freaky country, man. Now listen, the nephew Benny is back, so I need to go close the door. Okay. Yeah. I need to close the door right now because bad things are going to be said. Hey, turn out the TV,
Well, Holden's off closing the door. Gary, did you travel for Thanksgiving, or were you?
No, it's local. Yeah, they're local. Pretty much all my family here is local here, except for my wife's sister lives in South Florida, but she's actually coming up here in a couple weeks. So
fantastic.
Let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, both of you have kids, right? Gary, you got a kid, right?
Yeah, he's 21.
Yeah, he's 21. How old do you think your son was when you started using really bad words?
Probably
like using
13.
them, not knowing them, using them.
Probably like 13 or 14.
Really that late?
Yeah.
How about you, JT? How old was your kid?
She is 24. Probably she grew up with me. And she grew up, I worked pretty much around the clock when she was younger. And I was on the phone a lot when I was home.
Oh boy.
Yeah. She learned a diverse vocabulary at a young age.
When did she drop the C word?
You know what? I wasn't that was something that I incorporated into my vocabulary a little later on in life.
Really?
Yeah. Just because it's and maybe not until like I even started doing this stuff, just for pure shock factor. That the first time I called someone, like they didn't even get mad; they just laughed. They were like, "Oh my god!" It's like I've never heard that word.
It's funny.
And now I was saying in Discord today, one of the guys said, "Oh, I said it to my girlfriend a couple of times, and I've regretted it." And I said, "No, just keep going, because my wife now uses it almost as much as I do, if not more so. It's a little bit, yeah. If someone pisses her off, that's the go-to. That's the go-to moniker."
I said that about somebody in front of my girlfriend. My girlfriend was not happy with me. She's like, "That's a bad word."
You just have to veto. Jesus, veto. Somebody's got to talk here. It's called a podcast. Come on, man. You just complimented me 5 minutes ago. You just got
to yapper, man. Enough.
You just got to keep plugging away. Yeah, veto's upsetting.
Love the veto. So that was that. And then, I did think about you one time.
One time
on the vacation.
Yeah.
Because I was with my daughter.
Yep.
And apparently I said the C word.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I said it like 5 times.
Sure.
But for an 8-year-old, the C word is crap.
Mm.
So, yeah. So what I'm thinking is I'm probably going to get a note from her mother asking why I said the C word. And she's going to think it's one thing when it's actually another thing. So I wonder how to handle that. I don't think I can call her the C word.
No.
That would get me in a lot of trouble.
You want to try and continue the road to improvement of that relationship that you're on as much as you can.
Right.
As much as you can. Yeah.
I'll say, excuse me, nice person. I said the word crap. That's what I said.
This is the word I used. It was an error and it won't happen again, right?
Well, I said it like 5 times. Crap. I didn't know crap was a bad word, though. Crap's a bad word?
For a child, it depends. How old your daughter?
8. She's 8.
Yeah. This is actually one of the few times where it's appropriate to question your daughter's memory and say, it probably happened once, maybe twice. It's she's got a bold imagination. That's not what happened.
Yeah,
I assure you. And then make sure it doesn't happen again. So there you go.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, anything else you'd like to discuss before we get into this football slate? Usually we go 30 minutes into it. I know you wanted to talk about Mark Cuban a little bit. JT, I have a plethora of sex topics we don't need to get to. Not for Gary's ears, of course.
Yeah. I just it's funny because I just saw this thing pop up on Twitter, a suggestion that maybe Cuban was divesting himself to make a run at the presidency, which I don't.
Okay, so time out. You have to tell people what's going on. Mark Cuban sold the majority share of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
To an Adelson who I thought owned another NBA franchise, but it must be a different Adelson. So
there was a coach. I don't believe there was an ownership.
Oh, Rick Adelson. That was Adelman. That was Adelman.
Yeah.
So all of he still gets control of basketball operations. He still has shares. He's still loaded. And then he sells and he gets a whole bunch of money. All right. So from there, you think Mark Cuban, director of personnel with the Mavericks, is now going to be a presidential candidate?
No. I don't think that. I saw someone opining on Twitter that because he's leaving Shark Tank.
Oh.
And so he's leaving Shark Tank. He's selling the Mavericks. The story we're hearing, and this is a 4-hour-old story, so parts of it could be wrong. The story we're hearing is that, he's still going to run the team. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe he runs the team during the transition. I don't know. That's something that someone brought up, which would be interesting because he's expressed his disdain for all politicians that are involved right now. So it would be something that's interesting. I don't know if he's doing it. I'm not suggesting he is, but that's a rumor that's out there.
Interesting. Very interesting. What are his political leanings? Do we know? Do we have any idea?
I don't know.
No.
I thought they were not left or right, but somewhat more Democratic than Republican. But I think that his current political leanings are just like a lot of people in this country, just completely disgusted with everyone.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's where he is.
Gary, you voting for Mark Cuban?
I'd vote for him. I'm definitely not voting for Biden. I can tell you that.
Did that edible just hit you, Gary?
There.
Not yet. It hasn't hit yet. It hasn't hit yet.
Oh boy.
I mean, we can go down that road if y'all want to. I can speak for hours on that.
All right, now listen, Vito tunes in every week. Vito knows.
I've never seen him comment before.
Well, I've seen Vito comment. I don't know.
He's upset now.
He's very upset.
All right. Good night, Vito.
I should just leave this show as god awful up the whole
Right.
night.
That should be a banner. Can you make a banner that says this show is god awful?
Yeah.
We need the triggered gif with the girl that's like shaking. Like
I'm just going to leave that up here for a while. It's for those of you listening in podcast form. It says this show is god awful. Do you think Vito commented in the chat section about all these guys do is BS and I can't find it or what? What's going on with Vito tonight? I usually like Vito. I don't know what his problem is.
He needs a gummy, obviously.
I think he likes Biden and you pissed him off. Oh, thanks. How'd you do that? How'd you get that going, JT? Oh, you got to show. How did you get that going, dude?
No, sir.
All right. I'm going to have to start doing some work. Oh, wow. I didn't know you did that. So now there's this show is god awful on the bottom. Thank you, Vito.
JT's hosting game is up here compared to Holden.
Yeah, it's I didn't know. He definitely has the technology down. That's hey, you take that off there. That is not nice. That is not nice. Not cool.
I got to put Holden in a timeout. Right?
That's hilarious.
Not nice, JT. Not nice. Not nice at all.
This Miami Milwaukee game is fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm very happy.
All right, let's get into the DFS slate now. Let's do this.
Sorry, Vito. We'll talk to you, Vito.
Purposefully, just because Vito's gone now, I want to get into the football part.
Yeah.
Old N. I was hoping. Do people not watch the show? Are they just stopping by? What's going on tonight, guys? Hey, why'd you take down your penis is 1 inch and you're proud of it?
I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't. Anyways, Sam is a fat slob. Swoop is here. Woo. Okay. So let's get into this week's slate.
Yeah.
This week's slate is a very interesting one. We don't have Patrick Mahomes. We don't have the Cowboys on the slate. But we do have some pretty good quarterbacks still. By the way, how good is this San Francisco Philly game going to be, boys? I mean, this is to me is the game of the year. We had Philly, Kansas City, which was a great one. I think these are the two best teams in the NFL. And personally, I think San Francisco is a better team than Philadelphia. We can get into that, but let's start there, JT. This Philly San Francisco game before we get into the DFS side. Who do you think's a better team? Because I'm looking at a lot of the offensive line, the pressure numbers from the defensive line, and it's kind of flipped over the last few weeks where San Francisco is surging, and you've got Philadelphia just kind of backing down.
Well, I mean, Philadelphia's certainly been lucky, a very lucky team. Not that they're not good, but they are a little bit banged up now. There's some injuries in the defense, on the defensive side of the ball. And what the 49ers did at the trade deadline to bolster their defensive line for what was an already very good defense has made it really, really, terrifying for a lot of teams. So it's a good matchup from that standpoint, right? The Eagles have been just awesome offensively. DeAndre Swift has added a layer to that offense that they didn't really have last year when they were running between Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell. So it's an interesting matchup. 49ers favored on the road, going all the way to the East Coast. Favored by, I think it's 3.5 right now. It's a really, really interesting game. So, if you're looking to we'll get into what we would attack this with, but Christian McCaffrey's 9K. The Eagles haven't been, the way you beat the Eagles is through the air. And Brock Purdy, he had a couple of down weeks, a few games ago, but he looked just fine in his last couple of games. So in that dismantling of the Jaguars and then fairly easily handling the Seahawks, a little too easily for my liking, but it's going to be, and it's great. It's in the 4:00 window. So that's 2 weeks in a row now where we've had really, really good games to look forward to in that 4:00 window. Last week, of course, being the overtime thriller between the Bills and the Eagles. And Holden, do you think the game was over? Do you think A.J. Brown dropped that ball? I've seen there be a lot of talk about should that have been a game-ending drop. They called it an incomplete pass, not a drop, a fumble.
Yeah, I didn't think anything was conclusive there. What are you laughing about?
Nothing.
Are you making that story up?
No. I'm laughing.
You must have. I think you put something else on the ticker.
His dog's licking his balls. So, anyways, JT, I think the big failure there was Josh Allen to Gabe Davis. Like, how do you miss that throw? It's just brutal. It's brutal. Gary, Philadelphia, San Francisco, talk to us.
Yeah, I'll start back on that Eagles-Buffalo game. Like, I was like, man, this game is just terrible. And then the fourth quarter happens, and it's like a whole new game. It's like the best game that we've seen on TV all season. It's just incredible. The guy makes the kick in those conditions, 58 yards to send it to OT. Like, just wow. Jalen Hurts is so good. I'm obviously a Commanders fan, and we play the Eagles pretty tough both times. All the time. That's the one team that we kind of play tough. I don't know what it is. We beat them last year in their home stadium on Monday Night Football, I think. Then we played them close both times this year. But Jalen Hurts just wills his team to a win, like, all the time. Like, he's just got the winning – he's got the it factor because – I think, personally, San Francisco is the best team in football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's particularly close. They play really good defense. As JT said, they brought in Chase Young, solidified that D-line. They play really good run defense, pass defense, and they found a quarterback. Like, people have been bagging on Brock Purdy, but he's done exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do, and he makes big plays when they need it. Isn't that what every team wants of their quarterback? I don't understand why Brock Purdy has been getting a lot of hate as recently as 2 or 3 weeks ago when they were on their 3-game slide. So
that's why, because they were losing.
The guy is so good. Like, I'm not going to make comparisons on this show because I don't want to get ridiculed for it. But I'll just tell you what, he's going to be really good over the course of his career. Put it that way.
Getting ridiculed is what this show is all about. Just like when Vito put this show is god awful. So put it out there, buddy. That's all I can say. But
so there's only one comparison that I can make right now, based on where he was drafted and based on his early year success. Now, if he did not get hurt last year, I am 100% confident that the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl.
Agreed.
I don't even think it's close.
Definitely would have been close.
I don't think so. I don't think it's close. He's not going to be able to replicate Brady's 7. Nobody's going to be able to replicate Brady's 7 championships. I think he gets 3 to 4. He's going to be a perennial all-pro guy. And he's with the right coach. He's with the right coach. He's in the right system. They got the right people around him. I just think he's going to be really, really good. But that being said, Jalen Hurts is the man right now. But I do lean San Francisco winning this game.
Now hold on. Vito, sorry, Gary. Vito said, basically, I thought you were leaving, Vito.
Yeah,
And now
go to
you're
bed,
back
Vito.
and you're telling me to run my mouth. My job is to run my mouth. That is the job description. My job is to talk, Vito. So what am I doing? What am I supposed to do? We already gave you the little tag down low. This show has got awful. I mean, you should be very happy about that. And damn, we all over Purdy's nuts. Another. This is a beautiful shit show. Speaking of Purdy, let's get into quarterbacks here.
Yeah.
And Purdy kind of sticks out, right? This could be a 30 or 3 touchdown passing game for Purdy. The Eagles just get shredded through the air, but they go out and they put up a ton of points too. So Purdy's sitting there at 6,100. JT, that was kind of where my eyes went to first. You could pay up for Hurts if you want to. It's pretty damn good Niners defense. I think it is going to be a shootout. You got CJ Stroud, who every week, no matter the matchup, he just keeps getting it done. I think this might be the week where he has a little down week. He might not pay off that 8,100 because Denver's defense, like I've been telling you, since about 2 weeks after that Miami game, they simplified it and they've been really damn good. A lot of people are going to want to play Tua this week. I think if you look at Tua's number, I'm not saying he's bad play this week, but he's really not had a blow up game since week 8. The last 3 games, 12.5, 22.5, 10.5. So this week he gets a Commanders team though that they just get shredded through the air. Kyler Murray's playing a little bit better, but I don't like that at Pittsburgh. And those are kind of the options we got right now, JT. Is Purdy going to be in the pool? And where else do you want to go if you're going elsewhere?
Yeah. First of all, Vito, you got to chill out, man. Hit the like button.
Yeah, he's
chill
upset.
Out. I don't know why. He was complimenting. Vito, tell us what we did wrong. He was complimenting.
I got to put him in a timeout.
He was complimenting us, and then he kind of went haywire.
I know.
I mean, it's one of the wild.
Sometimes you put kids in timeoute. Sometimes you got to put viewers in. Vito will be back in 5 minutes, but you can't be doing that, Vito. That's
Vito. Vito, we love you. Just cool. Just be cool.
Yeah, I took a nap today, Blake. That was once I take a nap, I'm done.
It's good. It's good.
Just look like shit. Anyways, go on, Brock Purdy.
Here's the thing, man. I mean, so I'll get to Purdy after I talk about Tua. Tyreek Hill, 9,600 DraftKings pricing. Maybe this is finally the Waddle week. Now that you have a full 2K gap between Tyreek and Waddle. Waddle actually, what am I saying? Waddle had a pretty good game against the Jets last week. Got the 100-yard bonus. Got into the mid-20s. But with Tua is 7,900. They got a 30 implied total. The thing about this Miami team is the balance. Now, Devon Achane is looking like he's potentially going to miss this game. So, but everybody's priced up on the Miami side. I think you're right about CJ Stroud. I think, even the receivers are priced up here. We'll get to that. So I think Purdy's in play. I just haven't been playing many offensive pieces against the 49ers. I think if you wanted to take a shot on one of the receivers, thinking that maybe the Eagles will be trailing, then you're looking at A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith. I like Jared Goff for a bounce back here against New Orleans. No Marshawn Lattimore for the rest of the season for the Saints. The game is indoors. Detroit has the 3rd highest implied total, and Goff is sitting there at 6,500. Now, this is a very spread out offense as well, just as the Miami Dolphins are. But the Saints, you really haven't been able to run all that well against New Orleans Saints. The way you beat them is through the air. So I don't mind him a little bit. Trevor Lawrence had a really good game against the Texans defense. Texans defense has been better. Russell Wilson goes into a dome game at 5,700. The Broncos, as you mentioned, surging upward maybe with a shot at the playoffs just because of how poorly teams like the Bills and others are playing. So I don't mind him a little bit. And then it gets pretty thin from there. I mean, we've got a couple of teams on the slate, Holden, that you can't even consider the quarterback just because, they're very bad. And there's also a chance where they're going to get benched halfway through. So, and there's some games that are ugly. Like, we like to play Chargers and we like to play the team against the Chargers. Well, The Chargers are in New England, So even though they have the 5th highest implied total, I think it's a little tough to go to Justin Herbert here. So I think a smaller pool for quarterbacks.
What are you looking at here, Gary? Brock Purdy? Tua over or Sam Howell?
I mean, I'm always going to have interest in Sam Howell, and it's not just because I'm a Commanders fan. I mean, they're going to throw the ball 40 times. I mean, anytime that they're going to throw the ball 40 times, which is basically every week, I'm going to have interest. And he's cheap. I mean, it's going to come down to ownership. He's definitely not in my like top 2 or 3 here. But yeah, I do have interest in a little Howell. I definitely prefer Brock Purdy over him. And I think, I mean, I know it's early in the week, but I'm thinking that Sam Howell might be higher owned than Brock Purdy, which is kind of crazy to me, just based on who they're playing and what the matchup is perceived to be. So yeah, I'm definitely in on Brock Purdy. Jared Goff I know he's in another dome. I just never play Jared Goff when he's not at home. It's just something like he's normally just really good at home and not really good on the road. So I probably won't go there. Kyler Murray, can't do it. Tua, I mean, at that price tag, I mean, I really want my quarterback to run when they're starting to get up in that 7,900 and above price tag. So I'm probably out on Tua. And Herbert, I'm just not a Herbert guy. I think Herbert's a fraud, personally. I don't think he's that good. Obviously, his coach is a turd. We do know that. But I won't go to Justin Herbert. And the same with C.J. Stroud. Now, one thing with C.J. Stroud is I saw over the last couple of weeks, he's starting to run the ball a little bit better, a little bit more, using his legs. But this is a terrible matchup for him. I just can't do it against this Denver defense, who's obviously found something midseason here on a 5-game win streak. So definitely not going to go there, and definitely not going to have any Jalen Hurts up top either. One guy that I do like, and he is, y'all are probably going to ridicule me for this, but that's fine. He's facing the team that's given up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks, or the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks. Derek Carr. I do have interest in Derek Carr against this Lions defense. I think he can put up 20 plus DraftKings points, and I like that for 5,600. So yeah, and like JT said, all these other guys, you just can't play these guys. So I think I'm gonna only have 3 or 4 guys in my pool realistically, and it's gonna be 6,200 and down.
That Derek Carr call was so bad, K. Fallick wouldn't even consider it.
This is the matchup. Second most fantasy points against last 4 weeks, the Detroit Lions against the quarterback.
I'll give you quickly, because you look at it, the price is enticing. Both Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed left that game with head injuries on Sunday, and they, as I say every week, they have a package of plays for Taysom Hill. I've kind of bucketed New Orleans in the same group as those other teams where you can't consider the quarterback, just because you don't know how many critical snaps he's not going to get when they're going to bring in Taysom Hill. But him without it depends on what's up with the pass catches, but I do like those other guys quite a bit more. And Goff hasn't been as bad on the road. He's been bad in tough matchups on the road. People are wanting to play Kenny Pickett, and Mike Tomlin does not want Kenny Pickett to throw the ball.
No, he does not.
that could not be clearer. The other thing with Kenny Pickett is the fact that the Steelers have the absolute best rushing matchup on the slate, and both of their running backs, who are essentially splitting time, are in the low 5Ks. So, Pickett, I would say, yeah, you could play. And the way that Deontay Johnson reacted with that fumble, I would look more towards Pickens and Pat Freiermuth than Deontay Johnson if I was looking to a receiver. But we'll get to all that, won't we, Holden? We'll get to that when we get to receivers, damn it.
We will. We'll get to it when we get to receiver, 100%. But first, we have to get to, y'all don't like Russell Wilson against Houston.
We mentioned
that could be a shootout again.
JT mentioned him.
Yeah, we mentioned Russell Wilson.
I'm not so sure that's going to put up the points people think. I think Stroud can probably hit 20. I don't think this is going to be a big week for him, though. I just don't.
I mean, you say if you're looking at implied totals,
yeah,
Houston, Denver both come in the top 8. And
yeah, I like the under in that game too.
Okay, but the 22 for Denver is it's a pretty high team total for Denver.
It is, and I don't think they get there.
You know, Pittsburgh's team total is very high for Pittsburgh, 23.25.
Yeah. What do you think? With Matt Canada gone for Pittsburgh now, they eclipsed 400 yards for the first time in like 60 games. That's got to be baked into these totals.
Who did they play last week?
I don't even freaking remember. The gummy just hit.
They played Cincinnati.
The Bengals
in Cincinnati. Now they're home. Now they're home to a Arizona Cardinals team that's giving up. I mean, they just gave up. So Kyron Williams got 40-plus fantasy points, and Royce Freeman scored a touchdown and got 13. 53 fantasy points to the running backs last week against Arizona.
The Steelers scored 16 points on 400 yards.
Okay.
I'm glad they gained a bunch of yards last week. I do like the running backs. You're right about the running backs.
So that's a divisional game.
Yeah.
Arizona's going to play fast. They're going to probably play poorly, but they're going to play fast. And so what the Steelers like to do is run the ball to drain the clock. Arizona can't stop the run. So instead of draining the clock, Holden, they're going to march right down the goddamn field. I think you can play both Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren this week.
Before we get to running back, Vito's back. Yes. You put me in timeout. I've been here at many shows, bud. Just because you're here at many shows doesn't mean you can't be in timeout. If you're going to be abusive, be nice.
You can't be mean.
Vito, take a gummy already, man. Jeez.
Vito needs a gummy.
Yeah.
Something. When was the last time you shipped a large field GPP? Know your place, man. Hey, I don't know how big was that FanDuel hit this year? How many people was in that one?
Holden does hold his own. I mean,
I'm up in football this year. The only reason I'm good at basketball is because I just do a show with Tony and JSU, and they give me all the stuff. Baseball, I struggle at. I'm not that great at baseball.
Vito is. We're here to help you, man, and we're just trying to help. Rance has a question. Lone Wolf DFS, Freiermuth. Yeah, I like Freiermuth a little bit. Rance, quarterback is so rough. Can Baker get 18 to 20? Baker left that game injured. They are playing Carolina, but it's the same situation as Pickett. Rashad White. We should start talking about running backs here, but Rashad White is going to get 20 carries, 25 carries against Carolina, and he's going to smash. He's 6,300 on DraftKings. So you can't, in my opinion, these quarterbacks where there's a clear running advantage, and the both teams have shown, the Steelers lately, that they're sharp enough to take advantage of that.
It was a 4,100 person field, Rance, that I took down this year. Not a large field. That's a medium field tournament, correct?
It's a first place. It's a
medium-sized tournament.
Hey, I don't even play large field stuff. So how about that?
Yeah, I don't either. I'll throw like one in one of the big ones. Anyways, who gives a shit? This is not a pissing contest. Yeah. This is our show. No. Running back, McCaffrey, does he pay off the 9K salary? I think you can fit him in because it is Zach Moss chalk week. I'm just going down here. Kyron was so damn good last week. He's not getting 41 again, but the usage he got in the passing game, my goodness, that was pretty impressive. I think that's gonna be an ugly game, by the way, guys. Bijan's finally getting some work. It took Arthur Smith, 10 weeks to realize that. Completely another incompetent head coach. Plus, he gets the Jets, who have not been good against the run. You don't want to attack them in the passing game, but they've been really bad against the run. Breece Hall's been a bit inconsistent. I'm just trolling through this thing. I love Javonte Williams' talent. He's getting, 20 touches here. I just wonder if P. Ryan is going to steal the work at the goal line. You do have Najee and Warren. So those are two guys. Warren's actually 54. Harris is 52. So those guys are in a timeshare. Who looked good last week was Singletary. There's no way I could play Singletary, though, because he's going up against Denver. So let's go. JT, give us 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, you can fit McCaffrey. I think there are better point per dollar plays below him. The Zach Moss is it probably isn't really a decision on this slate, but the interesting thing here is these cheap quarterbacks or cheap running backs starting because of an injury. I haven't played them all season long against Tennessee because you can't run against Tennessee. However, Zach Moss shredded this Tennessee defense in week 5 for like 150 yards. So you got the one guy who's had a really, really good game against this team. He's just 4,600. I think that's one where mostly I'm going to play. I like Rashad White. I think Galvin Kamara is interesting here at 8,200 with the passes. 15 carries as well last week. I have a little bit of interest in Jerome Ford. I don't usually like to play running backs against the Rams, but his usage has been really, really phenomenal. So he's 5,500. Chuba Hubbard actually looked good last week. Got some work in the passing game. He's just 5,300. And I'll stop there. There's some other guys that I have mild interest in, and I'll leave them to Gary, though.
All right, Gary, let's go. What do you got, buddy?
Man, I just think Zach Moss is just like a stone cold lock this week. I just don't see the need, because he was playing all the snaps before JT came back in the fold, and he's just gonna get them all again. He's just taking over JT's role. He's 4,600, and oh, by the way, Tennessee has given up the 9th most fantasy points to running backs over the last 4 weeks. So they have been more susceptible to the run recently. I just think he's a stone cold lock. I don't think there's any reason that you need to fade. I get people are saying in chat already, fade the ownership. You can get different in football. There's so many other spots in your lineup. $4,600 for a running back that's going to see 90%. 90+% of the rushes.
Hey, how many lineups do you play on the main slate, Gary?
I play 3.
Okay, you know what? That's funny you say that because I play 4 on the early, 4 on the late, and usually 2 to 3 on the main slate. I like breaking it down into easier ones. And if I had to, let's just say I played 10 slates, I'd probably have about 60% Moss. I wonder where JT's sitting there. How much Moss would you have in 100 lineups, 10 lineups? Doesn't matter. What percentage Moss are you going to have?
I think for me, early in the week, at least even with the field, I'll have to make that decision of if I want to get over, how high I want to get over, just because, like I said, earlier in the season when the Titans defense was playing really, really well, then it wasn't a spot to target. Zach Moss is the only guy who's run well against this defense. So 4,600, like Gary said, he's the only guy. They like him. He was continuing to get work when Jonathan Taylor was starting to get worked in. He even got a couple of carries last week before Taylor got hurt. So, and he'll get work in the passing game, which I think is good because that's where you want to attack the Titans the most.
Gary, anything else? Or are we done at running back?
The same guys pretty much as JT. I like both the Pittsburgh guys quite a bit. Rashad White, I like quite a bit. And that's pretty much it. I don't think I'm going to be paying up, or Mostert. I do like Mostert, especially if A-Chain is out. My squad has given up a lot of fantasy points to running backs over the last 4 weeks, and every other position because we suck. Now I am a little concerned this week. Well, I'm not saying concerned. I probably shouldn't even worry about it. But they fired Del Rio finally, and apparently he was have some complex where they had to call plays to each other based on what they see. And we got a bunch of young guys in the defense. Ron Rivera's already come out and said that they're going to simplify the defense. So maybe we see a little better defense this week. Because I don't think it's a talent issue. I think it was strictly a coaching scheme issue. It's not going to take me off the Dolphins that much, but it's just something that's in the back of my head as a fan of the team. But yeah, I do like Mostert quite a bit. So,
all right, let's move on to wide receiver, boys, and then wide receiver. Whew. It's an interesting one up top. We got Tyreek up against this wide. Listen, Tyreek, you're gonna have to make a decision. You want Tyreek or CMC? Because I don't know how you're gonna fit them both in and have a viable lineup. DeAndre Smith has just been DeVonta Smith has shown up these last 3 weeks. So in a potential shootout, he's got to be there. I love Brandon Ayuk this week. Brandon Ayuk might be my favorite wide receiver of the week. He's the favorite target of Brock Purdy. And you know what I think about Purdy? Tank Dell has asserted himself as a number one. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just getting the volume. And these are just the top shelf guys here. And I'm sure we're going to discuss what's going on down low. If you do think this Houston-Denver game is going to shoot out, Cortland Sutton is 5,400 again for like the 8th straight week. It feels like. But I think that's another play that you could at least look at. Noah Brown's going to be back. So again, if you think that Houston-Denver game shoots out, you got a lot of options. And Noah Brown finally over 4K is 4,500. JT, let's do it, man. Break it down. What do we got at wide receiver? 4 or 5 of your favorite plays.
Yeah, I like the San Francisco guys. Debo at 6,200. And Ayuk, like you mentioned, 7,200. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown at 8,500. A little bit of a price drop there on DraftKings. Nico Collins had the better game last week. Nico Collins was the guy that you wanted in your lineups. He's still only 6,800. I do like George Pickens a little bit. Again, we'll see what the coach speak is about the Deontay Johnson play and things like that. Josh Downs playing in the slot against Tennessee at 5,100 is a really exciting play for me. And then the last guy that I will mention once again, you did Cortland Sutton. I think Cortland Sutton at 5,400. And if you wanted to take the approach that, hey, the Texans have been better against the rush, and I'm going to double stack Russ, that is the cheapest double stack on the slate out of all the games with a 21 or higher implied point total. So, and then I'll let Gary talk about his favorites.
What do you got, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with I really like Mike Evans this week. I don't know what it is. I mean, the dude. I mean, he came through for me last week. It's probably recency bias. It might be 7,700 though against Carolina. It's kind of. I mean, I do kind of like Baker a little bit. We'll see what his health is later in the week. And I get the whole Rachaad White thing because I do like Rachaad White. So obviously won't play them together. But Mike Evans is just he's a touchdown machine. They look for him in the end zone constantly. He's got one of the highest target rates inside the 20 in the league. So. Definitely like Mike Evans. I don't think he's going to be owned with all these other guys up top. I'm probably going to be fading Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, AJ Brown. I always like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's just really good. I'm not going to be on the cups. So Evans is kind of going to be my guy up here. I do like Waddle. I do prefer the Waddle over the Hill this week. And just going down here, Michael Pittman. I probably won't get too much of them just because, I mean, I'm going to be pretty much locked in on the running back, Zach Moss. So, but I do still like him. If you have in non Zach Moss lineups, I do have some interest there. Just going down here a little bit further, Cortland Sutton, I do like. I mean, it's going to be pretty much the same guys as JT here. I'm not seeing anything that's standing out to me as far as value goes. So. But like I said, I really like Mike Evans this week.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's just my lady has him on her fantasy team. She's like, "Wow, that guy can really win you a week, or he can really lose you a week." I'm like, he is the perfect guy for a fantasy team, DFS team, because he'll put up 31 week. Listen, shit happens. He'll kill you, but I love it. Running out of wide receivers rants.
Did she say that he can really catch balls? No? Okay. All right. Matt Burton says it could be a Patriot wide. I don't think so. I didn't mention Ramondre Stevenson. That's about the only guy that the Patriots and Bill Belichick trust on the offense. So 6K isn't a bad price against that Chargers defense.
All right. So,
Douglas will probably be a little chalky, don't you think?
Who's that?
I mean, he's just good. Demario Douglas.
Yeah, he left. He left
the tag on too.
Head injury, but yeah.
So here's the thing at tight end. By all means, you guys give us what you want. I got two guys that I'm more going to ask questions about, get your thoughts on than anything else. First of all, Taysom with the 2 wide receiver injuries, Olave and Shaheed with New Orleans. I wonder if this gets back to being a Taysom week. You know, he's kind of had a couple down weeks after blowing up. And then the other guy, and it's a great matchup for Njoku because he's just getting peppered with targets. You look at his game log, it's like every week he's getting you 11 or 12 points, and that's where the sweet spot is. What it doesn't tell you, and look at these targets too, 9, 15, 9. What it doesn't tell you is last week he dropped a touchdown catch that probably would have put him around 19 PPR points. So he's very, very close to having another big week. Talk to me, JT, about these two guys, Taysom Hill and Njoku.
Yeah, Hill becomes very interesting depending on what happens with those receivers with Olave and Shaheed. Njoku, and man, I obviously we'd like to see the upside from him at some point. And, like you said, he dropped a touchdown. He's got a little bit, I don't know. It's hard to target any of these guys on Cleveland right now. With the quarterback play, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I guess maybe I'll feel better, as bizarre as this sounds, if P.J. Walker actually starts this game, because Dorian Thompson-Robinson left with an injury, and I would feel a little bit better about Njoku. But I think there are some other guys here. I think that you mentioned Taysom Hill, and obviously, like I said, he becomes very interesting if those receivers are out. I still think you can play Trey McBride in this matchup at 4,900. He's a little bit more expensive now, but you've got Conklin for the Jets, maybe at 3K. And I hate to say this name because I got a rule and it's no Falcons. But Kyle Pitts is all the way down to 3,800. The Jets have been terrible against the tight ends. And yes, Reggie Small, Juwan Johnson, who I played a lot of last week, also 3,400 in that game. You'd have to make a decision about if you're going to play Johnson or Taysom, though. So that'd be something. But yeah, tight end and Frymouth, 4,300.
Gary, tight end.
So I really like Sam Laporta here. I don't think he's going to be owned. Seattle's given up the most fantasy, or not Seattle, New Orleans has given up the most fantasy points in the league to the tight end position over the last 4 weeks. So if you have interest in Jared Goff, you have to have some interest in Sam Laporta here. Nobody's going to play him, I don't think. I also like George Kittle up at the top. It's another flowchart type play. The Eagles have given up like the 5th or 6th most fantasy points to the tight end position. And we like both quarterbacks. So you have to have interest there at very low ownership. You might get them less than 10% on the main slate because I think everybody's going to go down to the value guys, Trey McBrides of the world. David Njoku is going to be popular. Pat Freiermuth is going to be popular. Just flip your build a little bit and pay up for the top 2 guys would be my thing. But I do like Taysom Hill too, depending on what that receiver situation looks like. But as of right now, I think I'm leaning up, paying up for tight end this week.
All right, guys. Good show. Gary, thank you very much for hopping on. We appreciate it. Juwan Johnson, is that game in play? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. No, guys, I'm not hungover. I know I look like shit tonight. That's fine. I took a nap 4 hours ago, and that's it. I can't always be beautiful. Sometimes I gotta look like shit. Okay? Get over it. That my cat scratched my eye. I got a scratch. You ever get scratched on that soft part below your eye?
Oof. Sounds painful.
I don't have cats, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Smart move. So anyways, Gary, thanks again for hanging out with us. Hopefully Uncle T will be back next week. Vito, if you're around, I'm sure he'll leave us a nice comment or two in the bottom. And JT, always good to see you. You take care of yourself, people. Keep running pure.